On this episode of Star Trek Universe, Lower Decks is back with 2 new episodes, and we're talking about both of them. 501 Dos Cerritos and 502 Shades of Green, right after these maniacal chortles from a gaggle of blue orions.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen in on two lifelong friends sit and chat about Star Trek. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Robertson.
Dave, it's good to be back on the cast, man. It's been a while.
It has.
Too long between properties, and we've been talking about doing a news episode, but hadn't got around to it yet. So, how's life?
Life is busy.
Yeah,
and
me too.
My the other co-host on this show, Effie, is coming for a visit. She lives in the Netherlands, and she is going to be here for 3 weeks hanging out with me. So
wow, 3 weeks.
That's exciting.
That's super fun, man. That's super fun. Well, let me know if y'all want to grab dinner or something.
Sure. We'll see.
Yeah, fun.
You're a busy man, dude.
I am a busy man, but we live so close.
We do, but you have so many things.
I do, but I can always make time. I have a lot of things, but they're scoochable. I have a very scoochable life. Very full, but scoochable.
Scoochable.
All right, so we saw Lower Decks as the first 2 episodes of the new season, the final season, alas. What'd you think? What'd you think of episode 1?
I mean, I loved both episodes, and throughout the entirety of it, I was just going, I can't believe they're canceling this.
Oh, it's a very Dave way to view it. Hey, we got new Lower Decks. I'm going to, for this entire season, dread the end of it.
No. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing about how I am, especially these days, with so much content being out there. I am kind of happy that it's over, but just because it takes another thing off my plate. Right. But at the same time, like, it was one of those things where it's like, they announced it would be the final season, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a shame, but that's probably for the best. But, like, watching it, I'm going like, oh, God, this is so good.
It is so good. And I think that Lower Decks is a show that they could bring back at any point.
Yeah.
And I think it's a show that could have a wonderful revival in 15 years, or even a similar show, that sort of vein of like, let's make a comedy animated Star Trek series. And I think it might have that kind of life, because I think I've mentioned this before, but I think this show is one of the most rewatchable Star Treks. I think all Star Trek is rewatchable to some degree, but like this one's just, it's so fast paced. It's such small morsels, and it's so chock full of jokes that I can watch it a bunch of times and not, as long as it's not been too recently, like I don't remember every joke, and I think it has a lot of rewatchability. So I wonder if like in 3 years they're gonna go like look at the numbers and be like, oh, Lower Decks is like one of the most rewatched shows. Like it's probably worth keep making more of this to keep people watching, kind of like people do with The Office or. So I feel like this for Star Trek fans is a perfect little thing.
And I've seen, and I don't know because I haven't like really jumped into these comments, but I know Mike McMahon and a few of the cast members have talked about maybe doing revival movies already. Like where there's, we'll just come back and do a movie, Yeah. So,
Makes
God, I would
sense.
love that. But you know what? Tawny Newsome is going to be busy anyway because she's basically running her own freaking show at this point, and also one of the writers on Starfleet Academy.
Which got reviewed for a second season, I heard.
It got renewed, and
Tatiana Maslany.
Yes, She-Hulk. I couldn't remember her name. I was like, Orphan Black She-Hulk is going to be on there.
Orphan She-Hulk? I don't know.
I love that lady, so
I love her.
I'm excited about that.
I love her, and I know She-Hulk gets a lot of shit, but man, I loved it. I
did
for what
too.
it is. It's like you got to go in expecting what you're getting, kind of thing. I get why some people are like, it's not a serious show, or like I get why people that want something else don't get what they want. Sure, but like the show is great. The show is freaking great. terrible CGI, but great.
It does. It did have some bad CGI for sure.
I admit the flaws for sure, but it's a great show, and the ending is amazing. Okay, but Tatiana Maslany joining Star Trek is really, really exciting. Okay, so let's talk about episode 1, the I almost said Dos Equis, Dos Cerritos. I liked it a lot. I think there are going to be... Okay, I can't talk about this without talking about the second episode a little bit. I feel like this episode is going to have big impacts on the rest of the season, particularly for Boimler. Because
I loved his Riker beard.
Yes, he's such a Riker beard, and it makes sense. Like this version probably went over to the Titan, just like the other version, and was like, you know what? I see what it takes to be in command. Yeah.
Did you notice like how he kept sitting down and stuff? He was doing the Riker thing where he like threw a leg over the back of the chair. Yeah.
Oh, I missed that. I missed that. I'm guessing this version of him didn't have the transporter clone, and so got to stay on Titan longer or something, and like picked up some things.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay. It's hard to talk about 1 and 2 without talking about it, but the thing I noticed. One of the things I noticed in the first episode was when the TemPad, or like not TemPad, sorry, TVA, when the little pad is floating on that other Boimler leaves the pad floating and walks away, and Boimler's like, I don't want to grab it, like, and then grabs it. It's just really, it was just such a great little moment of like character where it's like, that character is loose enough to like not worry about every little thing, and Boimler's like, this isn't regulation. We're gonna hold on to this pad. We can't let things float around with the repercussions, you know. Boimler,
well, the reason he grabbed it is because he wants to know what that Boimler did to be so successful. Those are his.
Oh, see, well, and
those are the regulations he's ignoring. Is that he's finding out way too much about another universe, so that he can mimic it.
I was going to say that's what I thought was going on, but I didn't get that from that moment. I got that. I thought that moment was just showing that like other Boimler, because it's weird to leave a pad floating outside of a ship. Like that's something people do. So I thought he was being like, I don't know, following regulations by grabbing the pad and making sure it didn't float away. But in the next episode, when he says, I'm reading a book, I knew he was talking about, he must have gotten other Boimlers, fake files or whatever.
Yeah, that's when he got them.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to be doing that.
Got it. I did not catch that. The way he did it, I thought it was him being ashamed of his own grabbing of the thing because he wants to be more like the other Boimler, but he can't be. But I guess that it's more like he is ashamed of the fact that he's just grabbing. He's breaking the rules.
Yeah, and that's where he got the Boimler pointers.
Yeah, the pointers.
Yeah, he's just doing what his other self did.
Yeah, that's what I assumed based on, he says, I read a book about, he was like, oh, he got a hold of some files from other Boimler, and of course he's got this, he's starting to get the little stubble on his upper lip. He's growing that Riker beard.
Exactly 4 hairs on his upper lip.
Yep. I hope his beard looks terrible. I really hope that like he grows it out and it's just absolutely terrible beard.
Yeah. I don't know what I want.
Man, yeah, I really liked all that stuff with him, realizing his other version of himself was just more successful and wanting to be that. And I really do. I think it's gonna be the whole, like, a big chunk of the season is gonna be him trying to do that. I really liked all of the they call it, we got to get back to the prime timeline, and they're like, that's our prime timeline is the prime timeline, and then a little bit later someone says the fake Cerritos, they're like, no, we're fake Cerritos. And then like later on in the episode they go, the bad Cerritos.
yeah I loved that.
Yeah, I did too.
I was a big fan of Becky Freeman. And the way she walked around with that freaking what that riding crop.
Yeah,
I mean, like, because there was a captain on in Star Trek who had one of those, and he was the fucking worst.
Yeah.
Captain Styles from Star Trek 3 that tells Kirk, if you do this, you'll never sit in the chair again, or whatever. Like, he's like, the whole time he's going, thwip, thwip, thwip. Like, oh, God, taking a page out of Styles without really putting the spurs to it. I dug it.
Speaking of bad leadership, did you think this was I think it's a Berman hit when he says no interpersonal conflict allowed on my ship, or was that was that Berman, or was that in
Berman?
Rick Berman?
Okay.
Wasn't he the guy who was, or was it the showrunner for TNG who basically said they didn't want any interpersonal conflict on the ship?
Well, that was Roddenberry.
Oh, it was Roddenberry still.
That was Roddenberry, and then Michael Piller kept through, and Rick Berman, followed through on that.
I knew it was based on sort of the legend of Roddenberry and the ideals that Roddenberry had kind of come to believe his own, like, bullshit, basically. But I thought it was Berman who sort of instituted it on TNG and sort of forced that. That's why when he stopped paying attention to DS9, Ronald D. Moore got to play, you know? Deal with
I was totally just like, my brain was like, I don't know, sort of focused in on the idea that you were talking about characters, and I was like, wait, who is Berman?
Oh, sorry, my bad.
I just forgot about Rick Berman.
You did. You fully forgot. Me and you have been talking about Rick Berman since we were like 12, I don't know, like, or 7. As soon as we started understanding the background of what's going on, we're like, yeah, Berman wants to do this, but they want DS, whatever. You know, like when we were little kids, and you just completely did not know who I was talking about. Even when I said Rick Berman.
Yeah,
I was like, you didn't understand it to the point that I thought I was wrong. I was like,
right,
you know this name, like I gotta be wrong. This is me. This is my fault.
Yeah, I thought you were making you were asking if they were taking the piss out of like Michael Burnham. I was just keyed in on like they're making fun of a character. Wait, what? And
it's funny.
Yeah, that's real dumb.
Speaking of Ronald D. Moore, over on Multiverse News this week, we were talking about he's been tapped to showrun the new God of War series.
Oh,
and I'm excited. Okay. I'm excited for it.
Rick Berman is?
No, Ronald D. Moore.
Oh, Ronald D. Moore. Okay, I was like, why is Rick Berman doing anything? He's like 80.
DS9, Galactica, Battlestar Galactica.
I don't know what God of War is, but we should all collectively as a society be excited about more Ronald Moore content.
Yeah. Well, are you? Yes, you agree, or are you being sarcastic?
I'm not being sarcastic.
Okay, that's the way you said.
No, that guy's great.
Yeah, I agree completely. He also did For All Mankind, which I love on Apple TV.
I want to watch that. I still haven't.
I keep trying to get into Outlander, which is one of his most successful shows. People love that show. My fiance's mom and her friends get together. Her friend flew to town so they could watch the premiere together.
Oh, Jesus.
They love the show so much, and they live like states away. So she flew to town to watch Outlander together. And they're not like geeky people. These are just like, it's like romance novel people, you know?
Yeah.
So he's had big success with that. But I'm excited because God of War I've always heard is like a killer video game, and they're doing an adaptation series for HBO, I think. Yeah. No, it's on Amazon. Anyway, sorry. Back to Star Trek. Just throwing out not Berman. Ronald D. Moore facts.
Yeah. I would like to get to watch something else that he's done, but Bill Lawrence keeps making TV. Year round now.
What is Bill Lawrence making? Sorry, I don't know who that is.
You know who Bill Lawrence is. He did Scrubs.
Right, yes.
And Cougar Town.
Yeah, never saw that.
I heard it was good.
Shrinking's great. Is he doing Shrinking?
Shrinking is great. Yes, Shrinking is great. He did Ted Lasso.
Oh, wow.
And so and they're talking about coming back now, but his other show just wrapped up their first season, Bad Monkey, which is fucking fantastic, and you've got to watch it, Matt.
Okay.
You've got to watch it. It is great.
I've seen a lot of trailers for it, but I haven't heard anything about it, so I'm glad to hear it's good.
It is great, and Shrinking is back, and it is great. And
yeah,
I'm just
I love Shrinking, and I love Ted Lasso. I didn't know he did Shrinking in Ted Lasso, but I totally see the common DNA for all the way from Scrubs to Ted Lasso to Shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
And I can take you back further. Spin City.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I'm looking at the IMDb now. Yeah, cool. Okay. Well, we should really stop talking about this and talk about episode 1 and 2 because we just don't. Yeah, we get. I want to talk about all the things. But the big stuff. We got two Cerritoses. All the characters kind of had cool little like revelatory things about them. I really enjoyed the fact that, gosh, I'm not remembering her name, but the Vulcan character, Tallinn, had just like this one word difference between them. Yeah, that was really good. And of course, Rutherford. That's classic.
That's wonderful. But his story was so tragic.
It really was. And then I'll Be His Tendi was so sweet.
Yeah, I love that difference between them. He's like, no, I don't want to become that. I'm like, wonderful Rutherford. Yeah.
Yep. And then he sort of, he said like the Borg, and he's like, I got an idea. And then I thought he was going to make a Hugh reference, but he kind of did. He like made it so he could make friends, or he desired to make friends. Yeah. Which is basically what they did to deprogram Hugh, was like have a connection with Geordi.
Yeah.
And he's the engineer. He made a friend with an engineer, and that got him out of his Borg-like attitude. Kind of a Hugh reference, right?
I guess so. Sure.
Thank you.
Why not?
I just needed affirmation.
I enjoyed the the insults that the ransoms lobbed at each other, which were really just angry compliments.
Yeah.
Like, you beautiful bastard.
That was really good. I really liked our Cerritos is mostly Briggs.
Yeah. By the way, for our listeners who weren't aware, you absolutely need to check out, by any means necessary, the After Midnight episode After Midnight with Taylor Tomlinson that they did with Tawny Newsome, Jerry O'Connell, and Cordero Rutherford.
Oh, cool.
Eugene Cordero. Yeah, it was like they were the 3 contestants, and that was just a fantastic show. And Jerry O'Connell's wife shows up for a minute. It was, she's Una on Strange New Worlds. What's her name? Rebecca Romaine.
Oh, cool.
I'm not being sexist. I just can't remember names right now.
It's okay. You didn't remember Rick Berman, so like
I know.
Since you didn't remember that, you also get to forget a few women's names.
And he was he was a sexist piece of shit.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Denise Crosby and Gates McFadden.
That's what I'm saying. So now you're allowed to forget a few female names as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've earned it. I really liked we're sinking into the riff like a big old cookie.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I liked the what is it called when you do the arms? I think I'm having a stroke.
I'm watching the motion you're making, and I still don't know what you're talking about.
The arm wrestling between the two Shraxes.
Yeah.
Shaxes.
I trained by strangling Cardassians.
Yeah, in the war.
It's great. It's great.
Me too. I loved that. I can't remember his name either. Paul Shear's character kept calling his
Phillips.
counterpart "Your Honor" or "Your Majesty" or some shit.
Well, he was a king. Remember the episode? He goes back to his like fantasy home, and they offer him to be king, and he says no. But I guess this version of Phillips became king, but then still stayed on the ship. It's really funny. It's really funny.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And they sent him a dragon or something at the end of. Was that this the second episode? They sent.
I think it was the second episode.
Yeah. That's it. Oh man. This is always a poignant but funny thing to point out, like, and be so honest about. But I really liked when Rutherford is like, I like how work makes it hard to focus on the sad stuff.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, but also very funny and very real.
Yeah. Yay, more work.
Yeah.
How do you feel about what's going on with Tendi over there? Or what did go on with Tendi over there with the the Orions?
Oh, in the first
Orions.
In the first episode, right. Yeah, they go and steal that ship. It was cool. I was glad we at least got to spend 2 episodes before she came back to the Federation.
Mm-hmm.
I was worried in the very first episode she says something about like I'll just leave, and I was like, man, I was kind of hoping for a little bit more Orion time, like a little more fleshing out of the culture and stuff. And it was cool that we got 2 episodes at least.
Yeah, I was very pleased with it, and I feel like they've fleshed out a little bit here and there with Tendi the entire time. This show has really done a pretty good job of turning what we know about the Orions on its ear a little bit and fleshing them out in a way that made me feel better about them overall for Star Trek, because they're really a species that is like, oh, they're pirates. That's what they are. And Enterprise kind of did an interesting thing, or tried to do an interesting thing, because forever we thought we had only seen the Orion slave women. And we're like, oh shit, okay, we knew about the pirates, and then hilariously, in the animated series, there are blue Orions or Orions.
Do they call them Orions in the animated series? That's really funny.
Yeah, and they laugh maniacally a lot and shit. They're real like hackneyed, like mustache twirlers, and I loved the references to that. And I was like, they'll never bring up the blue Orions again. Like you're just like, oh, that's a weird oddity of Star Trek the animated series. That's got to be one of those episodes you can't say is canon,
right? But
then they made it canon.
Yeah, they did. And I love how this show does that, and I love how this show like doesn't let any Star Trek just stay on the table. And that's actually, I think, what I was saying earlier about them taking a break and coming back. I think one of the benefits of that is give more time for Star Trek to do weird stuff that they can throw back to, Not that there's not plenty more. They could definitely do plenty more references. I mean, for every episode of Lower Decks, there's an episode of, Star Trek that they could ape. But like, I don't know. I really like how packed with references it is, and at some point that well's gonna run a little drier and drier, or you start repeating yourself. And I feel like giving Star Trek a little bit of breathing room to like build up more content to pick on, basically. I think it'll be fun. But this show is definitely like, I think, a needed thing for Star Trek. Like, I think it's really, really fun.
Yeah, I please, just I want more. I want more of it. And I don't mind if it's like every few years or every couple of years or something, they put out another little movie that we jump ahead like, oh, that's where they're at. That's cool. Yay.
Or, this Tawny Newsome show may be continuing these characters, or at least her character. Maybe Mariner doing something. I think it'd be really fun to cross these characters over into live action and really see how they fit in the world. We've seen it a little bit in like in a sort of funny way on Strange New Worlds, but it'd be interesting to see a whole show based around this idea. It's live action.
Yeah. Well, I know that whatever she's doing is going to be a comedy, but it's not. I don't think it's. They said that it wasn't based on Lower Decks. It was something else. I don't remember what it was.
I thought it was.
We talked about it on the show.
We did, and I thought last week talked about it. I thought the door was still open that it might be.
I mean, someone might show up.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know. She has played the character in live action, so I'm assuming if she's on the show, she might play that character again.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, so about the second episode, we've got the race going on, and we've got the fall of a capitalist culture to the oppressive socialist empire.
Okay, my favorite thing in this entire episode are the fucking robots trying to sweep with their disruptors.
Me too. Oh my gosh. I really loved them. Like, I am not programmed for violence. My disjunct programming who knows what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, he's like, I will never choose violence again. And Mariner taps him on the shoulder, pets him on the back, and says, glad you had a little story for yourself today, buddy. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. I was glad to see Tendi come back because I kind of wanted, I wanted more with her doing the mistress of the whatever. But at the same time, I'm like, I really want them all together.
Yeah. Especially knowing it's the final season. Exactly,
yeah.
Knowing it's the final season, I think it makes sense to get her back and do the thing and just have a more normal season. But I was excited to see. I could have dealt with like half a season that only dealt with the Orion stuff for her. But it being last season, I'm glad she's back.
And I thought it was nice that her sister made the sacrifice she did, and to try to she was protecting her by not telling her about the pregnancy because she had to stay. She would have had to stay and did all that, train the kid forever.
Yeah. That was cool. Oh man. Sorry, I just remembered another line that from the robot. I forgot to water them. I have failed as a guard and a gardener.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a real standout character in this episode.
Yeah, I did enjoy him.
Yeah, pretty great.
I loved that Talin stayed up and fixed the shuttle and then realized her error and then stayed up all night destroying it.
Yeah, me too.
That was really nice.
Yeah, and just that whole concept she says of you're saying that the working together is more important than the actual work. The cooperation is more important than the actual work. And that's the whole thing with a team building exercise, doing something that really binds you together with people.
Yeah.
And I liked it a lot.
It broke through to this old chunk of coal.
I liked how she had an insanely crazy, solar sailing fight and zip lined between starships and stuff, and then got back to the ship, and Rutherford's like, what's been going on? And she's like, oh, just a bunch of boring pirate stuff. It's just so true to her character.
It was funny that all of the Orion pirates wanted to be bakers and dancers and whatnot.
Yeah.
We're just like, man, it's so great pirating, but not killing. The way they kept saying that, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was silly, but it's a little silly that they all were that way. It's like in a culture where everyone's told to be a certain way. Sure, there are going to be people that feel oppressed by that, but there's going to be a lot of people who are conformed to that. Their entire reality is built on that fact, But I guess you could say that the people who would volunteer to be on Tendi's ship would be the people that were inspired by her story of getting out of the culture and going and living in Starfleet.
Absolutely, that's how I took it.
Yeah.
And, oh my God, that freaking dragon thing, whatever it was that was in the throne room.
Yeah. I'm sure it's got to been mentioned by the Orions sometime, and it's probably never been on screen.
I don't know. I don't know what that was exactly, if it was a reference or if it was just a new thing. But when she said that, they need to feed it, and it spread its arms and went, oh, or whatever it was. Dude, I laughed so hard. And then my wife said, that's what you sound like when you're stretching. And I was like, no, it's not. And then it kept doing it in the background. And it was just and I also noticed that when it furls back up, when it's all clutched together and under its wings, it blinks one eye at a time, and that was cracking me up because it was just looking around and going blink, 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 blink.
It's a funny little animation thing.
Weird little humor in the background that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, Yeah, I wondered if that was probably like some kind of like, they mentioned targs all the time or whatever in Klingons, and then eventually they showed them on a ship at some point. I'm forgetting when.
Probably.
I want to say it was one of the original series movies. They have like a puppet targ in the ship.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway.
I mean, it was like a big dog thing.
Yeah, and that was a targ.
I guess that's a targ. I don't know.
I think so.
But also, I feel like maybe.
Yeah, that's the targ.
Okay,
cool. There's apparently one on TNG that looks like they just dressed a pig up.
Oh God!
There's a picture of Michael Dorn like holding on to the pig before the shot starts. Mm-hmm. I've forgotten about this, but yeah, there's all these shots from a TNG episode where they have a pig running around the ship with like a big furry suit on. That's good stuff.
I thought it was funny that the capitalist terrorists on that planet were just like people with a lot of jewels on.
Yeah.
That was hilarious to me.
Yeah, me too.
And the way they were like, "Oh my God, we didn't say to kill them. we have to go get off the grid and eat mud."
So weird.
That was.
And that race of aliens had their ears. It's kind of funny because they had like a very Ferengi thing when they were like, we have to maintain our wealth. Like they did a little like maintain our wealth thing with the Ferengi, very Ferengi like, and they were a race that had really long ears instead of really big ones, and they were like tied up above their head.
Yeah, I did notice that was slightly Ferengi-esque.
I just enjoyed the fact that we are getting an episode set at the changeover. They talk about in the very first episode of Lower Decks how they're not first contact crew, they're a second contact crew, and this is kind of even more of an extension of that. It's like this is the kind of crew that we send around when they're like doing those basic transitions that need to happen when Starfleet is taking you're joining Starfleet.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I'm very interested to see where it goes with, the threads that the first episode started with Captain Freeman, what she does to get sent to Starbase 80.
Yeah. I was wondering. I thought she was dead at the beginning of the episode. I was sure. Like
that was definitely what they were trying to make you think.
And then you found out she's at Starbase 80. So yeah, I don't know if that'll come back or not. I was wondering.
I assume it will. They played it up like for like a big thing, like, oh God, something happened.
Yeah, well, that's how I felt. And then I thought they were going to say she was dead, which it didn't feel right because then it would have felt like Becky would have been more would have acted differently around her mother or something,
Right, but they've also been bringing up Starbase 80 on the show for a while.
Interesting, yeah, for sure.
Because no one wants to go there.
Yeah, but someone went there once, right? Didn't like one of the seasons, some of them get like shipped there and then they came back?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think they did.
Maybe. I don't know, man.
Oh man. Anyway, it's a good start to the season. Good start. There's lots of room for the characters to go from here.
Oh, there was Boimler was scared that Ransom was going to send him to Starbase 80, and he says, "Oh God, no! That place is a hellhole."
Okay, yeah, I knew they've talked about it like that. I guess
we've seen pieces of it.
Okay. Oh yeah, I'm looking at the wiki or whatever too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it'll be interesting. Maybe there's something strange at Starbase 80 that they'll reveal. Like it's been like a ongoing joke. Maybe we'll finally get to visit it and see what's going on Starbase 80.
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe it does say that Captain Freeman punitively and impulsively transferred Mariner to Starbase 80 when she believed that Mariner had deliberately badmouthed her to visiting FNN reporter Victoria News. So
okay. Well, So what else do you want? What do you want from this season? It's the final season. We may get movies later, but assuming it's not. What do you want from? What do you want for the characters of the Cerritos?
I don't know. Bleh. Whatever happens, I just want it to be feel organic and feel like the show. That's all I really care about. Like, I just want them to have room to grow beyond if they want to, if the show winds up getting movies or whatever. But I don't know. I'm not usually a person that's sitting there like, oh, Rutherford and Tendi have to get together.
No, yeah, sure.
That's fine. I mean, clearly there's something there between them, but
I mean, I think
it doesn't matter. Like,
I don't care about that. I don't care about really what happens. I guess I care about the characters and the resolutions they find. Like I think a lot of the resolutions have already happened, which is kind of interesting for the show. I think Boimler is still like they learn lessons every week. Honestly, it reminds me a little bit of the Scrubs kinds of shows where like every episode they were always learning a lesson, but there's just such a complicated life is complicated and they always have another lesson to learn, And I feel like Boimler's always learning lessons about leadership, and that's just been his whole thing. But I wonder how they will resolve that. Like, I feel like that's a big thing that needs to be resolved. Like, Mariner's resistance to authority has already been curtailed greatly. Boimler's kind of incompetence and nervousness has already been curtailed greatly. We saw him being a leader and like actually having the respect. They actually were listening when he was giving them the pointers, So like we've already seen that happen, but it's good. I think we'll get final steps in that process of them both kind of becoming leaders from their own directions,
Well, the difference between Boimler and his transporter twin, and likewise the difference between Boimler and this alternate universe Boimler, and Alt Boimler said it, you got to have confidence in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And, also I think, Boimler is so worried about the rules, but notice that he didn't go by the rules when he grabbed that pad. And I think one of the things possibly we'll see throughout the season is that, he does a lot better when he trusts himself over the rules and he's not so afraid of taking risks, because part of leadership is taking risks.
And see, I definitely think that's part of the things he's had to learn this whole time. But I actually think that him stealing the pad, so the guy says, trust yourself. Like that's what you got to do. You got to trust yourself. Trust the person you are. And then he immediately stole a pad and decided to try to become that guy instead of trusting who he is. So I think like that's the lesson here, in my opinion, is like the course of this season, at least the next few episodes, he's going to be trying to be that guy and failing at being that guy because that's not who he is. And I think probably if just looking at how they're setting it up and if I were writing this, I'm guessing like he will reach the end of the season and need to like become more himself. He is a rule follower to some degree. You know what I mean? Like be willing to follow the rules when needed. And like, I don't know. Command is such a complicated thing, and there's 1,000 lessons you can take, and there's conflicting lessons you can take and all this stuff. But like, I think that the initial thing of the season was trust yourself, and he is doing the exact opposite. He's like, I don't trust me. I want to be that guy.
Well, but that guy is him if he had more confidence. Like that's the trick, though. Like
exactly,
he could still get away with trusting himself by trusting another version of himself that's slightly different.
See, I don't think that's the case.
In that next episode, though, like what he doesn't fail. Like those people survived because of the Boimler pointers or bointers or whatever the hell they called them.
Yeah, that's true.
Like those people survived because of that.
That is true.
And he got that from alternate Boimler.
Well, they survive, but they also go through the death because of that. Like they weren't gonna die. They like necessarily. They just faked their own death because of the bointers, which didn't actually assist them in any way.
Yeah.
They just came upon a grotesque scene because they had followed the bointers, and then nothing really was resolved because of that. Maybe it would have been if they hadn't been there.
Right. But he hasn't failed, is what I'm saying.
No, I don't think so yet. I just think that, like, anytime you're looking at anyone else's life, no matter how similar to you they are, and trying to do everything like they do it, you are not living true to yourself. So that's just I guess my own personal opinion. And I think that Boimler is dangerously close to just like finding another set of rules to follow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, he definitely has, but the part of like I don't have an opinion yet. We don't have, there's, I don't.
Oh, I'm not talking about my personal opinion in life. Like, right. not.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the show.
But you're like, I'm also talking about that. I have no opinions yet.
I don't either. Yeah, I don't have any kind of thoughts on life. But yeah, no. I with Boimler though, like I could see them going either way and being like, well, he did trust himself. It was just an alternate version of himself. Or, them going the way that I hope they're not, honestly, because it's so boring and standard. Like, if they found a fun way to be like, yes, that was the push he needed to stop being so scared to take risks, and he literally trusted himself.
Yeah.
That is kind of fun.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I'd like that.
I see what you're saying. For him to be such a rule follower, finding another book of rules, I don't feel like can be the answer.
But also for him to be such a Kirk and Tom Paris fan, I kind of feel like he needs to cheat.
Sure. All right. Well,
this is his Kobayashi Maru, Matt.
This is his Kobayashi Maru. Life is Boimler's Kobayashi Maru no-win situation. This is in Star Trek, like Rick and Morty go to that planet and they play that game that's someone else's life. Mm-hmm. In Star Trek, that is Boimler.
Yeah,
he's the intergalactic carpet salesman.
I totally can see that. I could see the writers and Mike McMahon having this exact conversation, but seriously.
Oh, I'm serious. Like, I'm dead serious.
No, like Boimler's life is the Kobayashi Maru, and the way for him to break the rules and reprogram it is to steal a playbook from an alternate Boimler who has it better.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's how it's going to work out, but we'll see.
Probably not.
We'll see. I just think
you want to know my hopes? I hope they veer away from what seems like an obvious choice.
Oh yeah, I hear that. I don't think they'll be obvious in their execution, but I also don't think they can reward sort of like the subterfuge and the like just copying someone else's paper, even if it's another Boimler.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's Boimler's AI and that shit.
All right, man. Well, I guess that's about all I got to say about these episodes. You got anything else?
I feel like I should, but I don't at the moment.
A lot of episodes to come. I'm sure we'll come up with more things to talk about.
You guys feel free, of course, to send in your feedback.
Yeah. Star Trek UCast@gmail.com.
And, we'll talk about it next episode, and we'll go or the next time we review an episode, and we'll be like, oh shit, yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
The hell, man.
Oh yeah, we miss things, for sure. Especially, like, today we wanted to get it out, record pretty quickly since it's the day it dropped. And so, we don't have time to dilly-dally and, come up with actual things to talk about. We just jumping on. We're flying by the seat of our pants.
That's what makes this show so quality.
That's hilarious, Dave. We'll be back soon, guys. Joel on True.
Live long and prosper.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.